Sardines are getting hyped as a superfood. Omega-3s, vitamin D, easy protein. But here's the truth. Not every tin deserves that reputation. Some brands cut corners on oil, sourcing, and processing. And to be fair, most have one decent option. But their most common tins are where people get burned. Today, I'm breaking down 10 sardine brands to avoid, and 4 that are actually worth your money. Let's start with the one that shocks most people. Season brand sardines. Season is everywhere in supermarkets, so it feels safe. But popularity doesn't mean consistency. This is one of those tins that can change quietly from batch to batch. To see why, start with the label. Season sources sardines from multiple places, and the country of origin isn't always obvious at a glance. With sardines, origin affects handling and quality control. That's how one tin tastes clean, and the next tastes off. On top of that, the marketing can mislead you. Wild caught sounds premium, but most sardines are wild caught anyway. So that phrase doesn't guarantee a better tin. It mainly makes you feel safer than you should. Now look at what you're actually eating. Many seasoned tins are packed in soybean oil. That oil can taste dull, oxidize faster, and leave a heavy, greasy finish. If you're buying sardines for omega-3s, cheap oil works against the mission. And there's one more trap. Skinless and boneless. Those tins require extra trimming and handling. Sardines are delicate. More handling means more breakage and softer texture. You expect neat fish. You get mushy pieces. So here's the rule. If you buy season, keep it simple. Whole sardines, short ingredients, olive oil or water, and a clearly listed origin. Number 9 is Trader Joe's Sardines. Trader Joe's sardines feel pre-approved. The store has that curated glow, but the risk is hidden in how they're made. For starters, these sardines are contract manufactured. Trader Joe's doesn't produce them. Other companies do, then slap on the label. And because suppliers can change based on pricing, quality can swing hard from one batch to the next. One tin is fine, the next tastes off or feels mushy. That supplier swapping also makes sourcing a trust issue. Some batches have been linked to producers in places like Morocco and China, where quality control can vary widely. With seafood, that matters because contamination risk and handling standards aren't the same everywhere. Then there's the oil. The label might say olive oil, but that doesn't mean you're getting good olive oil. Trader Joe's has faced lab questions about whether some olive oil products meet extra virgin standards. If the oil is low grade, it drags the whole tin down and makes the fish feel heavy. Another red flag is freshness speed. Higher histamine levels can form when fish isn't processed fast after catching. High histamine can trigger flushing, headaches, or stomach trouble in sensitive people. Finally, skip the skinless and boneless tins. You lose calcium from the bones, and the extra processing can hurt texture and nutrition. With this brand, the safest rule is simple: don't gamble. Coming up next is Brunswick Sardines. Brunswick is the classic, I've eaten this forever sardine. It's been around for generations, but a long history doesn't guarantee a clean, predictable tin. Start with the fish itself. Brunswick often uses Canadian sardines. That sounds reassuring until you realize these fish can be smaller and oilier. And when a fish is oilier, any fat-loving contaminants matter more. In some testing, Brunswick samples have shown detectable dioxins. Dioxins are industrial pollutants that build up in fatty tissue over time, and health agencies treat them as a serious long-term concern. Now look at the can. Brunswick has used tin-plated steel cans with BPA liners. BPA is a chemical linked in research to endocrine disruption, and studies show it can migrate from linings into food. Many brands have moved to BPA-free cans. Brunswick hasn't consistently made that switch. Then check the flavored tins. Some mustard sauce versions list high fructose corn syrup near the top. Sugar has no business in sardines. It's often there to soften harsh flavors and make a weak batch easier to swallow. Brunswick isn't always inedible. It's just a brand people buy on autopilot. If you do buy it, avoid the sugary sauces. Prioritize simple ingredients and don't let a familiar label replace your own label check. Number 7 is Beach Cliff Sardines. Beach Cliff is the cheap and easy sardine. You see it at Walmart, Kroger, and dollar stores. And I get the appeal. It's an entry-level tin. It makes sardines feel accessible for families who don't want a pricey import. But affordability doesn't excuse sloppy canning. Beach Cliff has had a major recall before, tied to can seam problems. That matters because seam integrity is everything in canned fish. If the seal fails, safety becomes a real concern. When the container itself is the weak link, that's not a one-off. That's a process problem. And the eating experience doesn't help. A lot of buyers describe metallic smell, soft gray fish, and oil that tastes stale or rancid. When the oil is cheap and heavily refined, it spoils faster and drags the whole tin down. Instead of mild sardines, you get a heavy, greasy finish that makes you question the purchase. Then there's the sodium. Many Beach Cliff tins push high salt per serving, which is the last thing you want if you're watching blood pressure or trying to use sardines as a heart-friendly protein. So here's the rule. If you're going budget, don't go blind. Check the oil first. Check the sodium next. And if the tin looks dented, swollen, or smells metallic when you open it, don't power through. Toss it and upgrade to a cleaner, simpler can. Next, we have Chicken of the Sea sardines. Chicken of the Sea is a name people trust on autopilot. Most folks think tuna. Few realize they also sell sardines. And the sardines come with the same mass market problem. You're buying scale, not care. A big red flag is sourcing. Many of their sardines are tied to Morocco. Coastal regions there deal with industrial runoff, and independent testing on fish from different waters has sometimes flagged higher heavy metal readings. That matters because sardines are supposed to be the safer seafood choice. If you're buying them for peace of mind, you shouldn't have to guess. Then there's the label math. Chicken of the Sea often lists the can as multiple servings. In real life, most people eat the whole tin, so whatever you think you're getting per serving, you may be doubling it without realizing. That's especially relevant for things like sodium and any contaminants that accumulate with intake. Next, watch the flavor shortcuts. Some varieties use smoke flavor instead of actual smoking. It's cheaper, faster, and it can leave a harsh aftertaste that covers weaker fish. And finally, texture tells the story. These tins can taste overcooked, soft, and watery. High heat processing helps shelf stability, but it can dull flavor and reduce what people want most from sardines. If you want a safer bet, choose whole sardines with a short ingredient list, in olive oil or water, from a brand that's consistent about origin. Before we get into the top 5 sardine brands you need to stop buying, hit that like button. And if you want more product breakdowns that expose what's really in your pantry, subscribe, because these brands are counting on you never checking what's in the tin. Number 5, Bumblebee Sardines. Bumblebee is the brand people grab on autopilot. It feels familiar, so shoppers assume it's safe. But with canned seafood, the logo isn't the safety check. The details are: what makes Bumblebee risky is consistency. High-volume brands can pull fish from wide supply chains, and results can swing from tin to tin. For most people, that's just annoying. For pregnant women, kids, or anyone eating sardines often, inconsistency matters more. Label clarity is another issue. Sustainability language can sound reassuring, but if you can't easily verify origin and handling, you're relying on marketing instead of proof. And seafood is not where you want "trust me" packaging. Then there's value. Bumblebee often costs more than bargain tins, yet the nutrition edge isn't obvious. Omega-3 levels are usually in the same ballpark as cheaper brands, so the extra money can buy branding, not better fish. Even the water-packed versions can disappoint. Water and salt sounds clean, but you're also paying for water weight. With a solid olive oil tin, the oil becomes part of the meal and supports the nutrition goal. You'll notice it as a sharper can smell, softer fish, and more breakage when you lift it. That's usually a processing speed issue. Bumblebee isn't always terrible, it's just unpredictable. If you want a safer bet, choose a brand that clearly lists species, origin, and a short ingredient panel. Number 4. Starkist Sardines. Starkist is a tuna giant, so when shoppers see the sardines, they assume the same trusted seafood story applies. That assumption is the trap. The first issue is transparency. Starkist sardines can come from multiple sources, and the country of origin isn't always clear on the front of the label. With seafood, origin isn't trivia. Different waters and different processors can mean different results. That's why one tin tastes mild and clean, and the next has that sharp, canned smell you can't ignore. Next, don't get fooled by the oil wording. Packed in olive oil sounds premium, but it doesn't always mean high-quality olive oil. If the label doesn't clearly say extra virgin, you're often dealing with a more neutral, lower-grade oil, and when the oil is dull, it drags the fish down and leaves a heavier finish. Texture is the other giveaway. Many Starkist tins open up with broken fish and soft pieces. Premium sardines should feel intact and lift cleanly. Broken fish usually points to rough handling and weaker sorting standards. Then check sodium. Some varieties run high salt, which can cover bland oil and weaker fish. If you're eating sardines for heart health, that's the wrong direction. Starkist isn't always awful. It's just a brand that charges for trust while delivering inconsistency. And with sardines, inconsistency is the problem. Alright, cracking the top 3 is Great Value Sardines. Great Value is the Walmart tin that wins on price. And that's the problem. When the goal is cheapest possible, quality gets squeezed in ways you can't see until you open it. With store brands, you're not buying one consistent producer, you're buying a contract. The supplier can change without warning. Same label, different fish, different handling, different results. That's how one can feels okay, and the next smells off the moment you crack it open. Now add the contamination question. Sardines are usually a lower mercury choice compared to big fish, but ultra-cheap tins can come with less transparency about sourcing and batch testing. If the origin shifts, the risk profile can shift too, and if you're eating sardines often, you want predictable standards. Not a coin toss. Then there's what you taste. Great Value is commonly packed in soybean oil. That oil can taste flat, go stale faster, and leave a greasy finish that makes the fish feel heavier than it should. It doesn't improve anything, it just hides weaknesses. Finally, opening the can can be disappointing. The fish is often broken. You see more scales and random bits. That usually means weaker quality control. Great Value isn't guaranteed to be unsafe. It's just built to be cheap, and cheap seafood is where smart shoppers slow down and read every label. Number 2. Wild Planet Sardines. Wild Planet is the tin a lot of health-conscious shoppers trust. And to be fair, their sustainability messaging is one of the strongest in the mainstream aisle. The sourcing often looks better than the average bargain can, but responsibly caught doesn't automatically mean cleaner in your body. Seafood can carry trace metals from the ocean itself, and arsenic is the word that scares people. Here's the important nuance. Most arsenic found in fish is organic arsenic, which is generally considered far less harmful than inorganic arsenic. That's why high arsenic headlines can be misleading if they don't explain what type was measured. Still, premium brands invite premium expectations. If a company is selling peace of mind, it should be transparent about testing, what they measure, how often, and what the results look like over time. Without that, you're paying extra and still relying on trust. So the issue with Wild Planet isn't that it's automatically a bad tin. It's that the label makes people assume the risk is zero. And in seafood, zero-risk thinking is where consumers get sloppy. If you buy Wild Planet, use the same rules you'd use for any sardine. Short ingredient list, oil you actually want to eat, and clear origin and species labeling. And if you're pregnant, feeding kids, or eating sardines daily, rotate brands instead of treating any one label like a guarantee. Taking the first spot is Grandma Sardines. Grandma Sardines pulls you in with comfort. The name feels familiar, the packaging feels old school, and the price makes it tempting for families trying to eat more protein without spending premium money. But with canned fish, tradition is not the safety standard. Traceability is. A lot of grandma tins show up with weak labeling, no clear batch or lot code, no easy country of origin info. Sometimes not even the basics that help you track a product if something goes wrong. And when a canned food is hard to trace, that's not charming, that's a risk. Then there's the can condition problem. Buyers often report dented tins, oily leaks, or odd chemical smells. With canned seafood, a dented or leaking can isn't a cosmetic issue. It can mean the seal was compromised during shipping or storage. That's when spoilage risk goes up fast. And the fish experience can be rough. People describe gray color, slimy texture, and a metallic odor that makes you hesitate. If a can makes you pause, listen to that instinct. This isn't about ethnic foods being unsafe. It's about any product that skips basic labeling and consistency checks. If you can't verify where it came from and how it was handled, don't gamble, especially for seniors, kids, or anyone with a sensitive stomach. You've just seen the 10 sardine brands to avoid. The good news? You don't have to quit sardines. You just have to stop buying mystery tins. Next, I'll show you better brands to choose, why they stand out, and the simple signs that separate clean sardines from marketing on a label. At number 4, we've got King Oscar. King Oscar is widely described as a reliable starter sardine for people who want a safe, predictable tin. Reviews frequently point to its simple ingredient lists, often just sardines, olive oil, and salt, without heavy sauces or strong flavoring, meant to cover weak fish. Because the packing oil is part of what you eat, many buyers say the cleaner oil helps the sardines taste lighter and less greasy than seed oil tins. Consistency is another common theme in reported feedback. Open can results are often described as firm fish that hold their shape, rather than broken flakes or mush. That matters for first-time sardine buyers, since texture is usually what makes people decide if they like sardines or not. Sardines are also commonly discussed as a lower mercury seafood choice compared to larger fish, which is one reason King Oscar shows up often in safer seafood recommendations. Overall, the brand is regularly framed as dependable, simple, and hard to regret, even if it's not the most exciting can on the shelf. Number 3, Fishwife Sardines. Fishwife is the tin for people who don't want surprises. It's not just pretty packaging. The label usually tells you what you're eating, where it came from, and why it's different. That kind of clarity is rare in the sardine aisle. The ingredients stay focused. No heavy sauces, no mystery flavor tricks. Most tins lean on olive oil, and a lot of buyers notice the oil actually smells fresh when you open it. That matters because bad oil can ruin even good fish fast. Texture is another win. Sardines fall apart when they're overcooked or handled too much. Fishwife tends to hold its shape. You can lift the fish with a fork. It doesn't collapse into flakes. From a nutrition angle, that careful handling helps protect what people want most: omega-3s. Heat and oxidation are the enemies, and better oil plus gentler processing keeps the can tasting clean. Yes, it's pricey, but you can usually see where the money went. If you want a tin that feels intentional, Fishwife earns its spot. Number 2. Patagonia Sardines. Patagonia Provisions is built for people who want to know exactly what they're eating. Their sardines are typically tied to specific, well-managed fisheries, with clearer sourcing details than most supermarket tins. That transparency matters, because seafood quality depends on handling, not just branding. They also avoid the usual shortcuts. No mystery oil blends doing damage in the background. Many tins are packed in extra virgin olive oil, and the oil tends to smell clean when you open it. That sets the tone for the whole can. Texture is another standout. These sardines are often described as thicker, firmer, and easier to lift with a fork, without the metallic or chemical notes people complain about in bargain brands. Sodium is usually more moderate too, which helps if you're watching blood pressure. Yes, it costs more, but the value is accountability. If something ever looks wrong, traceable sourcing makes it easier to pinpoint where the problem started. You're paying for oversight, not hype. Patagonia is proof that a tin can be both responsible and genuinely good. Taking the first spot is Ortiz Sardines. Ortiz is one of those tins that makes you understand why people obsess over Spanish sardines. The ingredients stay simple, and the olive oil tastes like real olive oil, not a dull filler that turns the can greasy. That matters because you're eating the oil with the fish. What really separates Ortiz is the presentation and texture. The sardines tend to look intentional in the tin. They hold together, lift cleanly, and taste mild and fresh instead of metallic or muddy. You don't need hot sauce to rescue them. Quality control is part of the brand's reputation, and it shows in the consistency. When you pay premium money, you want the same result every time. Ortiz usually delivers that. Firm fish, clean flavor, and oil that enhances instead of masking. Yes, it's expensive, but if you want a special tin that feels like real food, not survival protein, Ortiz is one of the safest upgrades you can make. Now that you know which sardine brands to stop buying, watch the next video on the channel, where I break down bourbon brands you should avoid, and the bottles that are actually worth your money.